morning, everybody. Can we please all stand for the playing of our national anthem?
Good morning, everybody. A special welcome to our visitors and distinguished guests. And as a matter of fact, I'd like to take the opportunity at this time to recognize a few of the people who are gracing this occasion with their presence today. Our mayor, James McKay, is not with us. He got held up at his office. We just got word of that. But he would have been with us today, and it would have been a pleasure to have him here. Another person who is supposed to be here, who was summoned by the governor for the presentation of a budget for transportation, is Tom McGann, who is president of the Concord School Board. And I see that our mayor is coming in now, and I will reintroduce him. Also with us today is Bob Silva, who's the acting superintendent of schools, and a lot of you, I think, know sometime or another, you got a detention from him in the junior high. Mr. Silva, would you please stand? And representing the school board is Christa, who has long been interested in things here at Concord High School, not only as a school board member, but also as a very active member of the parent-teacher-student organization. Christa. And it gives me great pleasure to recognize a person who has such influence on this city, the mayor of our city and a member of the city council, Honorable James McKay. The purpose of today's gathering is very simple. We are here to dedicate the auditorium, the hub of many, many activities of our school and city, in honor of one of our finest teachers and citizens, Christa McAuliffe, teacher and astronaut, who during her teaching career influenced the lives of hundreds, probably thousands of students in a most positive way, and who in her brief stint as a space traveler touched the hearts of millions of people throughout the world, and who left us a legacy of motivation that will last for an eternity. I'd like to take this opportunity also to thank some people who were greatly responsible for putting on this little event that we have this morning. Kathy Lassie, who is the president of the school board, who also is a teacher here at the high school, as well as Bill Mativia and the fine students who make up the chorus, and the orchestra, the string orchestra, who have performed so well here this morning, and Frank Houghton, the head custodian here at Concord High School, and his crew for their valiant efforts. It's now a very special privilege for me to introduce to you, to help us in this task we have this morning, to say a few words to us, Steve McAuliffe, Christa's husband. Steve.
Good morning. Charlie Foley told me I should keep it down to less than an hour if possible. I noticed one student before I came in said, gee, is this only one period? So we'll try to make it two. Really, thank you very much for having me here today. It really is truly an honor and a pleasure to come back to Concord High. As you know, Christa very much loved this school, and she certainly loved working with Charlie Foley, and she particularly loved her students. I'm not sure many of you're probably too young to have had Christa, but it was a real joy to have had her as a teacher. But I'm particularly honored to come here and have this auditorium dedicated in Christa's name. And our family is very proud and very thankful to Mayor McKay particularly, and to the Concord community, because you've been really super to us. You've been terrific. And I don't mean in the sense of honors and awards and that sort of thing, but rather in the sense of having discretion and having taste and being sensitive to what Christa would have wanted, given the tragedy that occurred. And I say that because I think the Concord Monitor, I think probably most of you read the article, the editorial that they wrote on the 28th, and it was a particularly touching one for our family and fitting, because I think they captured exactly what this community is all about, which is different from most places, as you'll learn as you grow up and go out into the world. I think most of you ought to go other places, but you'll find, I think, you want to come back to Concord for the very reasons expressed in that editorial. And the reasons are that people outside, in the outside world, that didn't know Christa as we know her here in Concord, sometimes get lost in the glitz and the superficiality and the fame and so forth associated with that Teacher in Space program. But those of us who knew Christa, and certainly Concord knew Christa, knew that that was not what she was about. She was a teacher. She loved teaching. She loved her students. She loved that program not because it allowed her to put on an astronaut suit and to have her picture in the paper and be placed on TV and be accorded all types of honors, but rather because it allowed her to be representative of her profession. And what was great about Christa, as you know, and as I'll always know, was that she was an ordinary person, and she knew she was an ordinary person, and she knew, and I think you all know, that what matters in life is not what you accomplish. It matters what you try to accomplish with what you have. And Christa knew that she wasn't the best teacher in the United States of America. She wasn't the best teacher in Concord. There are hundreds of thousands of teachers that were Christa's equal. She wasn't the best person in the world. There are lots of people that were Christa's equal. Looking around this room, I see them all sitting in these rows. But she strived every day to be the best person she could with what she had to work with. And that's all anybody can expect. That's all the good Lord asks, and that's all you can answer for in the future. And this is a great community, and unlike many places, when you look around this community, you see it full of people, full of students, full of adults who spend every day trying to be the best they can be with who they are. And I know she would be very, very proud and very honored to have this auditorium carry her name, and certainly I and Scott and Caroline are very proud to have that honor accorded to Christa and to our family. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate your having us here.
The ceremony that will continue now is going to be very brief and simple and very purposeful. And I'm going to ask a member of the PTSO, the president, Kathy Lassie, to say a few words, followed by Mr. Tom Herbert, representing the teaching staff, and then both Jake Sherman and Mark Dion, representing the students of the school, will come on stage. Jake is going to say a few words for us, too. I'm going to ask now Kathy Lassie if you'd first come up.
Thank you. On behalf of the parents, teachers, students of Concord High, I congratulate the whole community on the dedication this morning to dedicate the auditorium in Christa's memory, and we thank you very much for recognizing her contribution to the community. Jake.
Mr. Herbert, Tom Herbert.
Thanks very much for coming. I wanted to share with you just a poem, which I think touches a lot on what Steve commented about, and I think is very appropriate. It happens to be in the 1989 yearbook, Mr. McMahon. To laugh is to risk appearing a fool. To weep is to risk appearing sentimental. To reach out for another is to risk involvement. To expose feelings is to risk exposing oneself. To place your ideas, your dreams before the crowd is to risk loss. To love is to risk not being loved in return. To live is to risk dying. To hope is to risk despair. To try it all is to risk failure. But risk we must, because the greatest hazard in life is to risk nothing. The man, the woman who risks nothing, does nothing, has nothing, is nothing. Thank you.
Jake and Mark, you want to both come up?
Excuse me. Mr. Foley just asked me to say a few words in regard to this from a student's point of view. 5 years ago, 7th grade, I remember exactly where I was when this happened, and I never had the opportunity to meet Ms. McAuliffe, but just growing up in Concord, an event like this has a lot of meaning, not just to Christa's friends and the people she worked with, but also to his students. And I think it's important to realize that while Christa McAuliffe was a teacher and she enjoyed teaching, she was also a student. And she willingly risked her life to learn about the unknown. The largest classroom in the world is actually outside this world, and that's space. And very few of us in our lifetime will ever have the opportunity to enter that classroom. Christa McAuliffe had that opportunity, and she took it. Thanks.
I erred in not properly introducing both Jake Sherman and Mark Dion. Jake Sherman and Mark are both people who have taken risks. Mark is the president of the senior class, and in order to get to that illustrious position, he had to take part in an election, and anybody knows anything about elections knows that as soon as you stick your head out the window, people are throwing things at you. You're taking a big risk. He got elected. Jake is the co-moderator of the extremely successful Senate, school Senate at Concord High School, which in its short period of just 2 years in operation has been so successful that I am extremely proud of it, and I'm extremely proud of him and the other students who are part of the Senate and what they have done for this school. So that is a much more appropriate, I think, introduction of these two very fine students who are representing the finest student body in the state of New Hampshire. I'm going to ask them now if they would unveil the sign that is going to go out in the front of the auditorium. I'm asking Steve McAuliffe to go up so that he is part of the ceremony and standing there with the representatives of our school community. Kathy Lassie representing the parents through the PTSO, the students, of course, representing the entire student body, and Mr. Herbert representing the entire staff, teaching staff, secretaries, aides, principals, assistant principals, you name it, he's representing us all. This event is going to conclude with a final piece from the orchestra and from the chorus. Mr. Mativia? Thank you, everybody. That's the end of the ceremony. We thank you very much for coming.